Death by gunshot to the head. Death by probable poisoning. Death by probable strangulation. Deaths possibly by implantation of deadly viruses. No one lives former. Yet the recent suspicious deaths of UFO investigators Phil Schneider, Ron Johnson, Con Routine, and Livingston and Karln Turner, as well as the deaths of a host of researchers in the past, only seem to add emphasis to a reality with which many of the more aware UFOIogists are now quite familiar. Not only is UFO research potentially dangerous, but the lifespan of the average serious investigator falls far short of the national average. Mysterious and suspicious deaths among UFO investigators are nothing new. In 1971, the well-known author and researcher Otto Binder wrote an article for Saga magazine's Special UFO Report titled Liquidation of the UFO Investigators. Binder had researched the deaths of no less than 137 flying saucer researchers, writers, scientists, and witnesses who had died in the previous 10 years, many under the most mysterious circumstances. The selected cases Binder offered were loaded with a plethora of alleged heart attacks, suspicious cancers, and what appears to be outright examples of murder. We will have occasion to refer to many of these cases, but first let us take a look at more recent evidence of highly suspect deaths among present-day researchers. No one has shook up more those who have been following UFO fact and rumor the past low years than Phil Schneider. Schneider died January 17, 1996, reportedly strangled by a catheter found wrapped around his neck. If the circumstances of his death seem highly controversial, they are matched by the controversy over his public statements uttered recently before his death. Phil Schneider was a self-taught geologist and explosive expert. Of the 129 deep underground facilities Schneider believed the U.S. government had constructed since World War II, he claimed to have worked on 13. Two of these bases were major, including the much-rumored bioengineering facility at Tulse, NM. At Tulse, Schneider maintained, gray, humanoid extraterrestrials, worked side by side with American technicians. In 1979, a misunderstanding arose. In the ensuing shootout, 66 Secret Service, FBI, and Black Berets were killed along with an unspecified number of Greys. It was here he received a beam weapon blast to the chest which caused his later cancer. If Schneider is telling the truth, he obviously broke the code of imposed silence to which all major black-budget personnel are subjected. The penalty for that misstep is presumably termination. Schneider in fact maintained that numerous previous attempts had been made on his life, including the removal of lug nuts from one of the front wheels of his automobile. He had stated publicly he was a marked man and did not expect to live long. Some of Schneider's more major accusations are worthy of attention. 1. The American government concluded a treaty with gray aliens in 1954. This mutual cooperation pact is called the Grenada Treaty. 2. The space shuttle has been shuttling in special metals. A vacuum atmosphere is needed for the rending of these special alloys, thus the push for a large space station. 3. Much of our stealth aircraft technology was developed by back engineering crashed ET craft. 4. AIDS was a population control virus invented by the National Ordnance Laboratory, Chicago, Illinois. 5. Unbeknownst to just about everyone, our government has an earthquake device. The Kobe quake had no pulse wave, the 1989 San Francisco quake had no pulse wave. 6. The World Trade Center bomb blast and the Oklahoma City blast were achieved using small nuclear devices. The melting and pitting of the concrete and the extrusion of metal supporting rods indicated this. Remember, Schneider's forte, he claimed, was explosives. Finally, Phil Schneider lamented that the democracy he loved no longer existed. We had become instead a technocracy ruled by a shadow government intent on imposing their own view of things on all of us, whether we like it or not. He believed 11 of his best friends had been murdered in the last 22 years, 8 of whom had been officially disposed of as suicides. Whatever we think of Phil Schneider's claims, there is no denying that he was of peculiar interest to the FBI and CIA. According to his widow, intelligence agents thoroughly searched the premises shortly after his death and made off with at least a third of the family photographs.